My name is Zainab, and I prayed for my son every night, even when he stopped believing in himself. The call to Maghrib echoed faintly through the cracked window as Zainab lit the last candle on the shelf. The power had gone again, and with it, the warmth in her small, aging home. Shadows danced on the faded wallpaper, but her eyes were fixed on the boy sitting silently at the edge of the bed. Isa. 17 years old. Tall. Shoulders strong like his late father's. But his eyes, those were hollow. Like windows to a room long abandoned. He hadn't spoken since he came home that afternoon. His uniform shirt was torn. A bruise bloomed just beneath his right cheek. Blood crusted on his knuckles. Zainab didn't ask. Not yet. She moved quietly, laying out his dinner, rice, lentils, and a single piece of fried chicken she'd saved from her own lunch. He didn't touch it. Instead, he stared ahead, jaw clenched, fists trembling. Outside, a group of kids roared with laughter. Firecrackers cracked in the distance. Life went on. But inside their home, time was frozen. It hadn't always been like this. Once upon a time, Isa was full of questions and wonder. He loved books. Drew maps on napkins. Dreamed of becoming a pilot. That was before his father's sudden death in a road accident, before the world turned gray. Zainab had tried everything. Counseling. Discipline. Encouragement. But nothing worked like prayer. At least, that's what she believed. Every dawn before the first light cracked the sky, she laid her forehead to the mat, whispering the same plea over and over. Ya Allah, keep my son safe. Send someone into his life who will see what I see. Let him find the light again. Her family had grown used to it, her whispered du'as, her tear-stained prayer rug, her unwavering faith. And they laughed. He's not a baby anymore, her sister-in-law once scoffed. You're raising a street fighter, not a scholar, her uncle muttered. You think your prayers will fix this mess, someone said last Eid. Zainab said nothing. Just smiled. And prayed harder. The clock struck 10:48 p.m. Still no words from Isa. His food untouched. Zainab cleared the tray quietly, offering a soft goodnight as she disappeared into the hallway. But her heart wouldn't let her sleep. Around midnight, she went back to peek into his room. Empty. The window, open. The curtain, fluttering like a ghost in the night. Her breath caught in her chest. She ran outside barefoot, scanning the street. No sign of him. Minutes felt like hours. Every shadow looked like his silhouette. She called his phone. Voicemail. She paced. Prayed. Trembled. Then, just before dawn, she heard footsteps. Isa emerged from the alley. Slow. Limping. Blood on his shirt. But alive. Zainab rushed to him, but he raised a hand. Don't ask, he said quietly. His voice cracked like glass. Just, let me go to bed. He walked past her. Up the stairs. Into his room. The door shut behind him. Zainab stood there in the hallway, alone with her fears. The prayer rug lay ready beside her bed. She dropped to her knees. Folded her hands. And prayed again. Ya Allah. I don't know what happened tonight. But you do. I still believe in my son. I believe. You haven't let go of him yet. In the distance, the first light of far crept into the sky. And the wind shifted. The next morning, the entire neighborhood was buzzing, and not in the usual way. Zainab had barely stepped outside her gate when she noticed the sideways glances. Two aunties by the water tap fell silent as she passed. Children stared. A neighbor across the street whispered to her husband, not even bothering to lower her voice. That's the boy. The one who sent two of them to the hospital. Zainab paused, her chest tightening. Her heart pounded louder than their whispers. She turned and went back inside, locking the door behind her. In Isa's room, the door was still closed. He hadn't come down for breakfast. She stood there for a long moment, staring at the chipped paint on his door, debating whether to knock. But she didn't. Not yet. Something told her that Isa was already drowning in noise, and right now, what he needed most was silence. By noon, the school had called. Not to check on Isa, but to inform Zainab, "Your son is suspended for 2 weeks pending investigation." No room for questions. No room for explanation. Zainab clutched the receiver and simply nodded. "Thank you." She sat alone at the kitchen table afterward, quietly stirring her tea. The spoon clinked against the glass, rhythmic and hollow. Her phone buzzed again. This time, it was her older brother. "Zainab, I just heard what happened." "Again with Isa? This boy is dragging you through dirt. You keep praying like it's going to solve something, but he's out there fighting like a wild dog." "He's not a dog," Zainab replied, her voice firm for once. "He's not a boy anymore either," her brother snapped. "Face it, your prayers aren't working. You're wasting time." Zainab ended the call. Not in anger, but in peace. They didn't understand. Her son wasn't broken, he was wounded. And wounds didn't heal under shame. They healed under faith. That night, Isa finally came downstairs. He stood in the kitchen doorway, still in yesterday's clothes, eyes ringed with exhaustion. He didn't say anything at first. Just poured himself water and leaned against the sink. Zainab didn't move. After a long pause, he finally spoke. "I didn't start it, Mama." She looked up. "They jumped a kid outside the bakery. 3 of them. I told them to stop. They didn't. So I did what I had to." His voice was steady. But his hands, they trembled. "I didn't do it for glory. I didn't even want to fight," he added. "But I couldn't walk away either." Zainab stood and walked to him. Placed her hand on his. "I believe you," she said softly. Isa stared at her, stunned. "You do?" "I always have." And that's when something broke inside him. His eyes welled up for the first time in years. Not anger. Not shame. Just pain. A buried pain clawing its way to the surface. "I'm tired, Mama," he whispered. "I'm tired of being angry all the time. I don't want to be this person." Zainab pulled him into a hug. A mother's hug. The kind that tells a child, no matter how far you fall, I'll be here when. Of praying through ridicule, tears, and silence. A stranger had come looking for her son. 6 weeks. Zainab counted each day with the careful precision only a mother understands. She prayed at every prayer, not just for Isa's safety, but for clarity, peace, and transformation. Letters came once a week. Short, scribbled, and awkward. But every one of them carried something new. At first, hesitation. Then curiosity. Then, hope. Met someone named Kareem here. Lost his dad last year. We talk sometimes. He's real. We climbed a mountain today. Never thought I'd finish. I did. They taught us breathing exercises. Never thought breathing could feel like fighting back. Mama, I think I want to come home different. Zainab would clutch each letter to her chest and whisper, Alhamdulillah. Her prayer beads never left her hand. The day Isa returned, the sun was unusually soft, like even the sky knew something had shifted. He stepped out of the transport van wearing the same clothes he left in, but nothing about him was the same. His shoulders were straighter. His walk was calmer. And his eyes carried something she hadn't seen in years. Light. Zainab rushed forward, wrapping him in her arms before he even had a chance to speak. Isa chuckled and mumbled, Easy, Mama. There are people watching. She didn't care. because she could feel it deep in her mother's bones. Her son had changed. Later that evening, as they sat on the rooftop with cups of chai, Isa finally broke the silence. You know what the hardest part was? Zainab shook her head. Forgiving myself. He stared ahead, watching the horizon. I thought anger made me strong. That pushing people away meant I couldn't be hurt. But I was wrong. I was just scared. Scared that no one saw me. Zainab turned to him. I saw you. He smiled. I know that now. I think, deep down, I always did. He took out a small journal and handed it to her. We had to write letters to someone who never gave up on us. I wrote mine to you. Zainab didn't open it just yet. She held it close to her heart. The weight of it felt heavier than the years she had cried alone. Do you think they'll let me back in school? Isa asked. They already called, she replied. The bakery owner sent in a letter. Said you protected her nephew. They're lifting your suspension. Isa nodded. Then, with quiet determination, he said, I want to help other kids like me. Ones who are angry, confused, lost. I want to be what I never had. Zainab blinked through proud tears. Then start with what you have. And let the rest grow. From that night forward, Isa woke before dawn. He began tutoring younger kids in the neighborhood, helping them with homework, sometimes just listening. He visited the bakery weekly to check on the boy he had protected. And every day, someone else in the neighborhood whispered, not in shame, but in surprise. Is that Isa? He's different. Zainab would smile quietly. They didn't know it, but they were witnessing a miracle. It was nearly a year later. The neighborhood that once whispered about Isa in disappointment now watched him with admiration. Kids followed him around after school. Mothers sent over home-cooked meals, grateful for the boy who now ran free tutoring sessions in the community center. Zainab had never smiled so much. And yet, that day, when the knock came, soft, deliberate, and unfamiliar, her heart skipped again. She opened the door to find a woman in a long navy coat, with windswept hair and a leather folder in her hand. Are you Mrs. Zainab Qureshi? The woman asked. Yes, she said, cautious but composed. I'm from the Auermann Education Trust. May I come in for a moment? Once seated at the kitchen table, the woman smiled kindly. We sponsor underprivileged youth with exceptional transformation stories, those who've overcome major adversity and are now building up their communities. Zainab blinked. That sounds noble. It is, the woman said. And one of our donors recently heard about a young man named Isa. Apparently, he saved a boy, completed a rehabilitation camp, returned with top marks, and now tutors children for free. Zainab's heart surged. Our board was moved, the woman continued. One of our patrons specifically requested we find the mother of this boy. He said something about find the woman who kept believing when no one else did. Zainab covered her mouth, tears already brimming. The woman reached into her folder and slid a paper across the table. It was a full-ride scholarship. For Isa. Covering not just education, but mentorship training, leadership development, and a future internship with a youth outreach program abroad. Zainab trembled. I don't know what to say. Say yes, the woman said gently. It's what you prayed for, isn't it? Zainab could barely nod. That night, Isa read the letter 3 times. Is this real? He whispered. Zainab just held his face in her hands and said, You asked me once if I really believed you deserved more. Now the world believes it too. Isa's eyes welled up, and for the first time in his life, he didn't try to hide his tears. Weeks later, as Isa boarded the plane for his new life, dozens from the neighborhood came to see him off. Imran stood nearby, smiling like a proud father. The bakery owner held a lunchbox packed with snacks. Kids clung to his legs. And Zainab? She stood back, quiet, glowing, hands folded over her chest. When the engines roared and Isa waved from the steps, she whispered the same prayer she'd once repeated into her worn-out rug. Ya Allah, protect my son. Make him a light. Make his name one that brings goodness wherever it is spoken. And when the engines faded into the clouds, a woman turned to her friend in the crowd and whispered, "Isn't that the boy whose family had given up on him?" The friend shook her head, smiling. "No. That's the boy whose mother never did." A mother's prayer is never wasted.